Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Ipswich, brought to you by the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only place to find daily content on every Premier League club, Premier League roundups in multiple languages, and women's football. My name is Rob Binns and I'm flying solo today. We're doing a Tactics Tuesday on a Friday, looking back on that depressing defeat at Old Trafford on Wednesday night. We'll round it off a bit more positively. You know, we've got a chance at an FA Cup run on Monday night. Perhaps maybe that will not the full focus. Perhaps maybe that should be where we're sort of starting to look at now, as this looks a bit very dismal over the course of the season. But so on today's episode, like I say, it's going to be a Tactics Tuesday-esque episode just on a Friday. The two key points I'm going to dive into is the attack, and particularly the second half, just toothless is the word to describe it, really. And then, of course, I know Tom covered it a bit yesterday, but I've got to go into set pieces as well, because it's what lost us the game at the end of the day. But before we get into either of those points, I'm going to give you my general thoughts. Like I say, Tom kindly held down the thought straight after the game last night that he was on the late night recording after the full-time whistle. We got his reaction, so he was on his own. So I'll give you my quick thoughts on that before we sort of dive in deeper into this episode. And I mean, yeah, it's not pretty, was it? It was a very, very frustrating game, really, but it's just such a huge opportunity missed. I mean, I said it going into the game that going away at Old Trafford is not what it used to be. It's, on paper, one of the easier games we're going to have in the season, particularly away from home. When you look at some of the other away games we've got left, we're even starting with Palace next week. They're flying at the moment, or the week after next, after the FA Cup. So they're flying. It was one of the games you looked at and thought you had to go and get something from, and then they were handing us stuff on a plate, weren't they? I mean, they basically scored our goals for us. And down to 10 men just before half-time as well. You thought it really felt like the tide was going in our favour. So we go in early on, calamitous mistake. You thought this could be our night. They put a couple of goals back, turn it around, and you saw the normal worries creep in. Then they gift us another one. Don't know what the goalkeeper's doing from letting that. I mean, it's good work from Delap to sort of put him off, but he shouldn't be letting a cross in as a goalkeeper. But again, then 2-2. Obviously, before that, you had the red card. You thought things were going to turn. Then it got gifted a 2-2 draw. And you just thought, purely through United's own errors, there was a really good chance to go and get something in the second half. And we just didn't offer anything, did we? It was conceding a couple of minutes after the break was going to mess up any plan, obviously. And it's incredibly frustrating. Set piece again. We'll get on to set pieces later, but to effectively be given, with added time, we had 45 clear minutes effectively where United just sat in and said, go on then, let's see if you can score. And we offered absolutely nothing. And it's such a real concern. I know we've had these concerns all year. We wondered if Spurs, there were some positive signs that Spurs, despite the result at the weekend, that maybe in terms of chance of creation, that we were maybe going to step it up a bit. Had 17 shots against Spurs, a few half-decent chances in there. That maybe it was a sort of step on the right way, but it was just... It's set up... You don't want to say the biggest half of the season, but it's set up an absolutely crucial 45 minutes. A real big opportunity to cut that gap right back down to 2 points. Obviously, Tom said it yesterday, we've still got to play Wolves. That will be one of the biggest deciding factors of the season when Wolves come to Portman Road in April. You need to get to that point. You need to be still in the race if you're not above them already in the ideal world, but you need to be well in that race by the time that game comes around. And this was a golden opportunity. You get in 2-2 at half time with a man advantage. You're not going to get many better opportunities to close that gap, particularly when you look at some of the games coming up. Like I said, Palace are flying at the moment. Then you got Forest after that again, very obviously Forest just keep ticking along. You thought every time they have the odd defeat in there, you think it's going to derail them, and they just go and get another great result in the next game. they're going to be well up for it, especially depending on regardless of what happens in the cup game, they're going to have an extra boost because they're either going to be thinking, right, if they knock us out, they'll be thinking we beat these twice this year. We've got to go and get the job done. But if we knock them out, they'll want revenge. So there's some really big games coming up that are going to be significantly more difficult than that game was. So we had United basically giving it to us on a plate at one point. That I said it's in our podcast group chat at half time. They might as well just score a goal. They might as well just kick the ball in their own net for us because they're doing everything. But I mean, the left wing back, he's, in fairness to him, he made a horrible mistake. Basically, say just effectively just set Philogene up. It might have even been going in without Philogene getting a touch on it. Like, don't know, there's no communication there. In fairness to him, he got himself back in the game and he was looking all right. And then he just disgraceful challenge on. Not that he meant it, obviously, because it was an accident, but it's a horrible, horrible challenge. Clear red card. I can't believe the ref's not giving it, by the way. I mean, that's been brushed over fairly quickly because VAR bailed him out. The fact the ref on the pitch, I don't think he even gave it as a foul at all. He could have forgiven a yellow, maybe he could have forgiven the yellow card, but I think he was gonna play on after a tackle like that. That it's just, I don't care how far away he was. That there's something like how could he watch that happen there and think, yeah, play on, nothing wrong with that. I might be wrong, but so I'm pretty sure he did not blow the whistle. We had to wait. If the ball hadn't gone off the pitch for a throw in, then to let VAR have a look, and the play would have carried on. I'm pretty sure it didn't look like he gave it himself, but luckily VAR done his job, got the red card out. So then again, you got to give Delap some credit for the second goal. It's a good say. Obviously, Philogene's teased it in the box. Delap is just sort of he's twisting and turning where he's going to run to. It's catching the centre halves out, and more importantly, it's caught Anana out, who's just you can see him sort of just step the wrong way. I think went to anticipate a touch from Delap, and then he can't get back to pick it out the bottom corner. So Delap deserves some credit, but again, it's another gift from United. Like I say, they've played us the wrong goal and let a cross in, and got a red card in 45 minutes to keep us well in, to bail us out from our own mistakes. And it's fair to say we'd have been favourites going into the second half with 10 men, and so with the scores being level. A lot of neutrals watching that game would have backed us to go on and win then, but what we saw in the second half was really, really poor. And it's another big opportunity that's passed us by. That I said Spurs was an opportunity, and we didn't, with how we played, that you sort of felt we played well enough to get something and didn't do enough of it. This was a huge opportunity. Even before the context of the first half, I said coming into this week that I'm looking at games in this fixture run that I think, where can we pick up wins? And this was one of them. Like I said, it's surprising to hear, maybe, obviously, with the history of Man United and how impressive the form has been at Old Trafford over the years. But this season, it's not there. It's three home wins in the last few months, if that, something like that. All against sort of teams down the bottom. Admittedly, obviously, we are one of them as well, but they're so gettable at home, and they basically for 45 minutes. They just let us try and get at them, and we didn't lay a glove. It's so frustrating. The game. It's a huge opportunity missed, and for me, I've accepted fate now. I've tried to stay positive as long as I can. I know Tom's still going strong on there. He knows, obviously, he's making the point yesterday with Wolves and Leicester still to play, is still, particularly as well as the other games. You never know. 5 points is gettable down the bottom compared to, say, at the top when nobody ever drops points. But for me, this one was the hope killer for me. It's now I've accepted the fate. I'm just going to enjoy the last few games, and if we start with a bonus, at this point I expect relegation and anything but. Then I will gladly celebrate it. But so at this point, I'm taking the Premier League football for while I can, because I don't think we'll be having it next season ultimately. And I've tried my hardest to keep positive, but so this one's killed me off because United weren't even good. They defended well in the second half, but they were not good. Put it that way. Like, we were just worse. Whereas, like you say, Saturday we put a decent enough shift in. Spurs were just better and more clinical. Crucially, right? United were not good. We were. It was a case of they just had to be better than us, and we made that easy for them. But they played like that again at home every week, which, to be fair, they near enough do. And there's a reason why. Like, the way they play won't win them many games if they play like that, but it was enough to beat us, which has been the problem. One of the many problems this season. So, like I say, for me, not to start the podcast on a downer, but that's the hope killer for me, that I'm fully now expecting. I've always had a positive outlook on it, but I'm expecting to be relegated now. This was the one to not even get a point from this situation. It's killed me off. But like I say, I'm not going to be down in the dumps about it. I'm going to enjoy what we've got left, and I'm going to hope rather than hope more than expectation that we get another season of Premier League football now. But like I said, the game was disappointing. I'm going to have a quick break now as we hear from one of our sponsors on the network. And then I'll be diving a bit deeper into that attacking side of things, particularly the second half, when we come back after this.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements, designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
And I'm back now for the second part of today's episode. I keep going to call it Tactics Tuesday. We'll have to some sort of Friday nickname instead. Flashback Friday, maybe, I don't know. But looking back to Wednesday night's defeat at Old Trafford, and let's focus in on the attacking side of things now, because it's something. It feels like every one of these analysis episodes after a game, it's a point that comes up, whether it's good or bad. And it came up against Spurs when we discussed that game in the early point of the week. And it was in a positive way. We were saying, look, overall, the game wasn't very good, an opportunity miss. So you don't want to let 4 goals in at home, all of that. But we made chances, 17 shots with one of the highest of the season. Was it a step in the right direction? And then we followed it up with this game where we had 12 shots in total, just a 3 on target, bearing in mind one of them was Philogene scoring an open goal from 3 yards out after Dorgu played him through. And I don't even know if Philogene's cross counts as a shot on target, although I have no idea if it will or not. But so we regressed in a situation where we were effectively allowed 45 minutes to build attacks and try and score effectively. United didn't make much effort after going ahead, understandably so, with 10 men. But we don't. Let's say 12 shots, 3 on target. I don't know how many of them is first half, but 45 minutes without laying a glove when your opponent just backs off. Look, obviously we're not used to that. We're not a team who, if they say your Liverpools, your Manchester Cities, your Arsenals, teams do that to them every week. So they're used to it. They've got ways of breaking it down. Obviously, they're at the other end of the table for a reason, in terms of the quality of personnel as well when it comes to breaking stuff down. But that's not something. We're usually the team that maybe has to shut up shop a little bit and weather a storm. We're not the team that has to go and break somebody down. And that was clear to see. There was the lack of ideas was the big concern for me, is that we soon quickly realised that was it for United in terms of attacking the game. It was quite similar actually at Forest when we went up there. They went 1-0 up and they sort of seemed happy to sit on 1-0 rather than push for a second goal. And again, we just had no answer. It's like if teams keep it solid defensively, it's almost like we don't have the quality to break them down and make chances. Because it wasn't even like, so it's bad enough to not score, but it wasn't even like we missed a big chance or anything. We just created nothing. I mean, I'll put it this way. I thought I better watch the highlights before I record this podcast, just to remind me of what happened, because it's been 24 hours since the game at the time of recording. Trying to remember what happened. It showed the first half. It cut to the second half. It showed Harry Maguire's header, full-time whistle. Like I said, that was 47th minute. There was another 43 minutes and whatever stoppage time there was to add on to that. There was not a single thing deemed highlight worthy in the second half after Harry Maguire's goal. And that tells you all you need to know, doesn't it? Because that was our period to go and give everything, fight, try and make the chances, get ourselves in it. Obviously, we had the man advantage, which we could have had to try and use to the best of our abilities in there as well. And say not a single thing was deemed highlight worthy in that 45-minute spell where the game was in our hands. I say again, 50 minutes of the game played against 10 men. We managed 3 shots on target in total. At least one of them came when it was 11v11. Like I say, obviously, look, United deserve credit. They defended very well. That was obviously a big part of it. If they carried on defending and as poorly as they did in the first half and making those sort of mistakes, we would have won the game. They shored themselves up second half. They do deserve credit for that. It's not big. It's not all about us. But it's like I say, it's the lack of chances more than the lack of goals that was the thing for me. That we've said it all year. If we don't start scoring more goals, we will end up going down. And like I say, it was effectively 40 minutes. Yes, they were sitting really deep. It was always going to be difficult, but it was 40 odd minutes to say, go on then, try and score. And we didn't even get close. That's the really big concern for me. Like I say, we looked out of ideas. It was like I said it right at the start of the show, toothless. And that's a huge problem. Because look, not every team is going to sit back like that. Obviously, it's going to happen very rarely at all. Actually, teams are more likely to come and have a go. And like I say, we'd be the ones that sit in it. It is a rare sort of game that we'll experience this year, but it just highlighted so many of the attacking problems we have and have had all season that it's a big frustration. And the thing is as well is that obviously I've gone a lot about the second half, but ultimately the 2 goals we scored were all Man United's doing. They were complete gifts. We didn't break them down to make a clear-cut opportunity and take it ourselves either. Like, we capitalised some big mistakes from them, which you've got to do. Obviously, you're not going to turn it. You've got to be there because it's not just because they make a mistake at the back doesn't guarantee we score from it. We've done well. Like I said, Delap, particularly the second goal, Delap deserves a lot of credit for his involvement in it and sort of duping the defenders and the goalkeeper. So the cross makes it way all the way in. Obviously, Philogene got to be in the right place to give chase after the mistake as well. There's credit due to there from our players. Obviously, not all just Man United are rubbish and gifted us a couple of goals, but for those to be the 2 goals we score in a game where we look very, even in the first half, set pieces aside, obviously, which we'll get into, United didn't offer much. It was sort of the opportunity was there for us to go and take and get ourselves some points, on a point or better. So they were sort of happy to sit back, try counter attack, and win set pieces, and they'd say it done the job for them. But it was an opportunity. Like I say, it was a sort of really frustrating game. That it's just ultimately it's a lack of quality. It has to be expected because back-to-back promotions, if they 2 fantastic seasons in a row, but you are ultimately going to come up to the Premier League with a subpar squad when the majority of it was playing League One football 2 years ago. It's been our problem that there's been signings made to add the quality to the squad, and some of them have been good, some of them haven't hit the same levels, but ultimately there's been a few times this season where we have lost games just because the lack of quality in the squad, Premier League quality in the squad has been exposed, and this was one of them. We didn't have somebody who could. Nobody sort of had that little bit of magic you need when you're sat against a low block like that. Like I say, obviously that the teams who play against them all the time, the teams at the top of the table, they've got ways to figure it out. And they ultimately the other big thing is that they have really class players that can pull the opportunities out. Like obviously we've got nobody near that level because we'd be right up at the top of the table if we did. But that's the problem. We haven't got someone who sort of can take the bit of magic on their own. And the point I'm making here, really, is there's no point comparing us to Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, teams like that up the top. The point I'm trying to make here is Wolves have got one. And that is the big problem. That I think if you gave Wolves the same 45 minutes against 10 men, they would also struggle. That they're down there for a reason. They'd struggle like we did. But the difference maker is that Mateus Cunha could probably pull a chance out of nowhere, either score a wonder goal himself or pick a world-class ball out and give somebody else an opportunity. We haven't got somebody in that role. And that was really, it was showing, like I say, to not have a second half of football where we were meant to be, it was all about us, could we score? That the highlights produced could not find anything worthy of including apart from Harry Maguire's goal. A really, really damning oversight of our attacking play that has been a problem all year. And like I say, it's a lack of quality thing that got exposed. And unfortunately, that's the reason why we didn't walk away from anything with the points. Well, one of the reasons, I should say, actually. The other one is set pieces, which I'm going to move on to once we've had another break to hear from a sponsor. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. And we are back for the final part of today's show. And let's talk about set pieces then. Look, I know Tom covered set pieces yesterday on the episode, so I won't go on about it for too long. I don't want to make the same points that Tom did, but the big concern for me here was set pieces we've been good at. That has not been, and a season full of defensive errors here and there, and say recently shipping the goals in lack of organisation, that set pieces have sort of been the one time we do look quite organised. It's not quite been a strength, but it's certainly not been a big weakness compared to a lot of other teams. Wolves, again, come to mind there, that they struggle from set pieces. It's normally been something we're fairly good at, and you'd feel fairly confident. Like I say, United were relying on counter-attacks and set pieces. You sort of be like, normally okay, counters might be a problem. We're not bad at set pieces. That there's a reason say when we sit in as well that we've got players capable of sitting in and winning the headers in the key moments. Like when we play the five-back approach, we resort teams to crossing the ball in, and then we win near enough every header. We're good at getting first contact on the ball from set pieces, but whether it was the way we set up or in counterpoint again, that how United set up, that again they deserve credit. Sort of been done a lot of bashing on our performance, and deservedly so. But ultimately, you got to give United some credit as well. But particularly as well, Bruno Fernandes. That is one of the key factors there. That when I say we're normally good at set pieces, in this game it just was the complete opposite. Tom used the word disarray, which sums it up absolutely perfectly for what happened. But ultimately, Bruno Fernandes is one of the best crossers in the league. There's not many, like I said, there's not many people across the entire league who could whip a better ball in from these set pieces. Particularly that, I'm thinking of the free kick with the first goal, the area it got put in. There's not many better players in the league at that. And there's also, talk about Bruno Fernandes, that how many subpar United performances has he dug out on his own? And he didn't do it on his own. He didn't quite do it on his own this game, but again, they started slowly. They were off the pace, and he whips a really good ball in the box that causes an own goal, and then that gets spirits up. And then at the weekend, they were 2-0 down out of the game against Everton. He scores a free kick. That he has obviously got that quality there. And look, so we'll focus on the first one quickly, that because I don't actually blame Morsey for this at all. That he should have done better. Look, you can't deny that. But the ball in from Fernandes is so good. It's into such a dangerous area that obviously you sort of expecting Højlund to get a flick. He just ducks away from the ball almost, and then Morsey can't help but turn it in. It's a ball into a really good area that is going to cause panic, going to cause problems for defenders, and that's exactly what it did. And unfortunately, it resulted in an own goal. That, like I say, you got to give Bruno Fernandes credit because it was his deliveries that were causing the problems partly. But on the counter to that, look, I say something we've been good at is set pieces. The way we set up, they were quite good at getting first contact. We don't tend to concede too many. The way obviously you set up from corners is important. It causes you got to get yourself right, whether you do zonal or man to man, however you want to do it. It's all about the first contact on the ball, and then if you don't win the first contact, it's then about the second contact on the ball. And we just weren't winning them. I mean, how many free headers does Harry Maguire get? I mean, I talk about Bruno Fernandes in terms of this, one of the best deliveries in the league. Harry Maguire is one of the most dangerous men from set pieces in the league, one of the best headers of the ball in the league. And he basically got an unchallenged header on 90% of the set pieces Man United whipped in. How have we allowed that to happen constantly throughout the game? Like by the time he scores in the second half, you have multiple warnings in the first half you've just got to do better on that front. That you need to change something up. Go and stick one of your best defenders on him, say to mark him. The De Ligt goal. I think I can't remember who. Somebody was running with him and just got completely left for dead. He gets his head on it, and then they keep. So we defend the initial one well. Palmer makes a good save to stop him Maguire scoring direct, and then we don't get to the second ball. Delot keeps it alive, and then we don't get to the third ball after Delot's shot was blocked or saved. Whoever got the touch on it, we don't get to the third ball as De Ligt taps it in. It's just a calamity of errors, that one. I say the third goal as well. I mean, Harry Maguire. He's left up against Philogene. That is a system problem. Zonal marking has its strengths, so as it does its weaknesses, and I'm somebody who is quick to call out zonal marking and question the point of it when you can see goals like that. That why don't, especially after the first half, that you think by the second half, just go and stick O'Shea or Greaves on Maguire. He's causing all the problems. I know you want them three to sort of try and attack the ball when it comes in, but you've got to analyse the threat. I mean, we had Karius trying to block him, who got done straight away by the run, and then the ball's been dropped in the zone of again, another very good ball in, credit there, but it's been dropped in the zone of Philogene, and again, that Jaden Philogene or Harry Maguire, there's only one winner in the air there, isn't it? You see it a lot of the time that the shorter players get deployed in these blocker roles that when it goes wrong, they're just left trying to challenge a big centre-half for a header and it never ends well. And that's what happened. That ultimately, after multiple warnings, say 2 goals from set pieces already, all sorts of problems being caused by the deliveries into the box. 2 minutes into the second half, we've let Harry Maguire have another free header because he's gone up against our 5'9" or whatever Philogene is winger to compete for a header. It's really poor. It's poor defending, and it's surprising really because, like I say, it's good deliveries from United, but to suddenly just flip a switch like that and go from being decent at set pieces, it not being a big problem of the season, to letting in 3 goals like that. I mean, like I say, the second one, how many chances do you get? You lose every ball. You lose the first, second, and third ball. The setup is poor to allow Maguire to have a free header for the third one. The first one, I'll give it on the quality of delivery. It's a bit unlucky in there from Morsey, but ultimately that it's a good ball from Bruno. We've still got to do better, but we talk about poor goals conceded. Ultimately, conceding a set piece, if you get done by a clever routine, it's a sort of one you can maybe accept because you don't see it coming. That balls in the box 3 times in poor goals to concede, and like I say, that is one of the reasons why we didn't get a result. Because as soon as the other thing at 2-2, United have got that decision to make of do they sit in, and because they wouldn't have been happy with a point. So at some point they're going to start going more forward, and that's when you can make the man advantage count by giving them a set piece goal 2 minutes into the half. It gives them someone to protect, and then that sets up the whole situation of them sitting back, happy to defend, and us not having the answers to them. But all these things combined made for a really frustrating watch on Wednesday night. And I was saying it's certainly dampened my hopes for the rest of the season. But where I am more hopeful is the FA Cup, which is obviously what we turn our attention to now. We go to the City ground on Monday night. We gave Forest a decent game when we went up there. Again, it was the same sort of problem as the second half, that they got in front and were happy to sit in, and we struggled. But while it was 0-0, we competed quite well. That there's a big opportunity there because they've just played Arsenal on Wednesday night, and they didn't make any changes from their game against Newcastle on Saturday. So their best 11 have just played not all of them 180 minutes, but effectively their best 11 has just started 2 difficult games in a row, 2 physical games in a row. So there's got to be changes there. If not for the reason of fatigue after those 2 games, the fact they've got Manchester City the weekend after in a season-defining game for them. City are just a point behind them now after they beat Spurs. I've gained a couple of points Wednesday night. It is like letting City go past you. It's been a classic. Once City get past somebody, they don't tend to give the position back. But obviously, they're not on the same level of form this year, so you never know. But it's arguably Forest's most important game of the season the weekend after. And like I said, the starting 11 has just all played 2 games in a row. So you'd have to expect changes. But you'd almost think from our point of view, we might as well go full strength and try and have a cup run. That I've changed my opinion about the FA Cup now. That I sat down here before the fourth round and said, we had a discussion of how seriously do we take it, because do you take relegation in the cup run? I said no at the time, but after the games that have come in between that cup run, in between the fourth round and the fifth round, I think at this point, I just want a cup run for something to celebrate. I say, especially if you could, we are 180 minutes away before you start messing about with extra time and stuff. 180 minutes away from Wembley. If you turn up on the day against Forest, get over the line, you're then 90 minutes away from Wembley for the semi-final. And I think a cup run would be something nice. It would be a high point to have alongside the season, I think, really, because like I say, in my head, my hopes of survival have been taking a big hit after that result on Wednesday night. So I've now changed my view. I'd love a cup run even if it's the quarterfinals. You'd be disappointed to go out a step before getting to Wembley, but an FA Cup quarterfinal would be something to celebrate if we get a result against Forest. And then, so I said, the dare to dream. A lot of big teams out of the cup. You do quite simply never know. It's been done before. Wigan comes to mind in 2013. You never know. And say in my head, not like I said at the start of the show, don't switch full focus on the cup, because we still have a good chance at survival if we sort ourselves out and win some big games. But I love a cup run on the side. I've always seen it as a sort of a secondary priority, but I love it to go now have that as a memory this season of a decent run in the FA Cup that maybe can cloud over some of the poorer performances in the Premier League. But we will have a full preview to that game on Monday, on the day of the game. So the perk of a Monday night game means obviously we can get our preview out on the day of it. It's always a nice little bonus. But that is it for today's episode. So the week's been a bit out of sorts this week with the game happening on Wednesday night. We're slightly out of sorts next week with the Forest game on the Monday night. But like I say, we get a preview on the day of the game, which is good. And then of course we'll have the reaction to the game on the Tuesday and the Wednesday following up after that and into next week. That'll do for today. I hope you enjoyed the solo effort from myself. We'll say if you haven't done, you don't have to worry, because I won't be on the next few episodes now. I'm off on holiday. So if you're sick of my voice after today's episode, I'll give you a few days respite at least on the next few episodes. But so I will be back end of next week, but the boys will be with you on Monday for a Forest preview. And until then, goodbye.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.